War does not determine who is right or who is wrong. It only determines who is left. These wise words by Bertrand Russell perfectly capture the brutality, devastation, and senselessness of war. Throughout history, wars have been fought for a lot of reasons, like power, religion, and ideologies. And no matter the reason, wars have left behind a trail of destruction, wounds, and scars that can never be erased. So, join us for today's video as we explore 15 old war photos that changed the way we see the world in ways that go beyond just the battlefield. Let's start off with number 5, Falling Soldier. Robert Capa's Falling Soldier is a brutal confrontation of war and tragedy. No time to blink, no time to think. Just one breath before the world caves in. A Spanish Republican fighter is caught mid-fall, a bullet already erasing his name from history. His body arches back, a rifle still dangling, knees bent, as if trying to hold on to life just a second longer. It's raw, unsettling, and endlessly debated. Some say it was staged. Others swear by its authenticity. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. Because real or not, it captured something war always tries to bury: the intimacy of death. This wasn't some sweeping aerial of destroyed cities. It was one man, 1 second. One life is undone by ideology and bullets. Whether Capa orchestrated the scene or caught lightning by chance, what's undeniable is the impact. This image didn't just document death. It challenged people to look it straight in the eye, and not everyone walked away the same after doing that. Number 14. Corinne Valle. One of the most respected war photographers of the modern era, Lindsay Addario, is not to be trifled with. She doesn't chase glory. She walks headfirst into places that tear people apart, and she points her lens at the wreckage they leave behind. In 2008, deep in Afghanistan's Corinne Valley, where gunfire was routine and death was daily, she captured a moment so still, so heavy, it doesn't need blood to speak. A group of U.S. soldiers carry a body, not in a bag, not covered in a flag, just slumped, arms limp, boots dragging across the dirt. No one cries, no one looks around. They've done this before. That's what hits hardest. Not the death itself, but how normal it feels. This wasn't some photo of war heroes. It was routine. Just another day. Another casualty. The man they're carrying won't be remembered by most. But Addario made sure his death didn't just disappear into dust. She made sure someone would look and keep looking. Number 3. Private Ernest Stambash. Private Ernest Stambash didn't look like much of a soldier that day. Slouched in a cot, jacket torn, eyes sunk from weeks of hell. The war had drained everything but the will to breathe. On October 14, 1918, in Souilly, France, Miss Anna Rochester, an American Red Cross volunteer, leaned in and lit a cigarette for him. Nothing heroic about it, no parade music and no cheers. Just one of those moments war tried to swallow, but someone captured it before it disappeared. She's calm, maybe tired herself, but her eyes stay on him. Not because he's a hero, but because he's human. A man, not a uniform. That photo didn't make headlines. It wasn't meant to. But it stuck around because it showed something wars always try to hide. Dignity surviving in the smallest gestures. You don't need explosions to feel the weight. Sometimes it's just a cigarette passed between strangers under the stink of blood and morphine, nothing more. But that's everything. Number 12. Tea time in the trenches. They called it tea, but it wasn't anything you'd serve guests. Boiled rainwater, gritty and weak, but in a trench near Croix-du-Bay, 1916, it was the closest thing to comfort left. The men of the 2nd Australian Division huddled low, Primus stoves flickering under drizzle, rusted tins of corned beef bubbling into something resembling food. Not a smile in sight. No chatter, just eyes that had seen too much, and jaws chewing just to remember what hunger felt like. The smell wasn't good, but it beat the stench of rot and powder that hung around the trench walls. Hot meals didn't come often. When they did, it wasn't warmth they delivered, it was proof they were still alive. The enemy was always a breath away, but for a moment spoons scraped metal tins, not rifle barrels. There's something sacred about that kind of pause. There was no peace or joy, just survival served in a dented mug, passed hand to hand like a secret. Number 11. U.S. Signal Corps telephone operators. 3 kilometers from the front, the world was noisy. Explosions, gunfire, boots running through mud. But inside the room captured in this photo, everything stood still for just a second. Women sit upright at their posts, headsets pressed to their ears, wires tangled like veins across the desk. These were the Hello Girls, American Signal Corps operators who spoke fluent French and kept communications alive while surrounded by chaos. Their chairs carry gas masks. Their helmets hang from the backs like warnings. They weren't given rank, or proper pay, or even respect at the time. But without them, orders would have died before reaching the trenches. One wrong number, one missed message, and dozens could fall. They didn't carry rifles, but they were closer to the battlefield than many who did. When they spoke, they didn't shout, just relayed life or death information through crackling lines. And when it was over, history nearly forgot them. But this image, quiet and focused, doesn't let that happen. It makes sure they stay seen. Number 10. Sentry duty. Behind him, sleep. In front, whatever might try to kill them. That's the job. The soldier stands above the trench edge, rifle steady, eyes fixed on the black stretch of nothing ahead. He's part of the 11th Battalion, the Cheshire Regiment, dug into a captured German trench at Auvillers-le-Boissel. It's July 1916, the middle of the Somme offensive. Every step forward has been paid for in blood, and there's no victory in sight. Behind him, his comrades curl up in the mud like animals trying to stay warm, their breaths barely visible in the damp air. They trust him not to blink, not to slip, because blinking here costs lives. The photo doesn't ask for pity. It doesn't dramatize. It just shows a man doing what needs to be done, with nothing heroic in it, just necessity. There's something about how small he looks under the sky, as if the war could swallow him in a second, and no one would ever know his name. Number 9. Sleeping shelter. There's nothing romantic about war. This photo captures soldiers buried into the side of a trench near Contalmaison, trying to sleep inside makeshift dugouts that barely qualify as shelter. Some hollows are just enough to lie down in. Others are not even that. Mud clings to their clothes, rain leaks through the ceiling, and rats skitter between boots like they belong there more than the men do. Sleep isn't peaceful, it's stolen. Snatched in broken pieces between bombardments, between orders, between the gnawing anxiety that tomorrow might be their last. Some lie with helmets on, boots laced tight, ready to run or fight the second they wake. But for now, they lie still, not because they're relaxed, but because they have no choice. Their faces are hollowed out by exhaustion, not fear. It's the kind of tired that sinks into bone. These aren't soldiers resting between battles. They're men surviving between nightmares, hoping the ground beneath them won't collapse or explode by morning. Number 8. Over the top. You don't see fear in this photo. That's not because it isn't there, it's because it's buried deep under duty. An officer of the 10th Battalion Camaranians steps out of the trench, leading his men into the open near Arras in March 1917. Shells burst in the background like punctuation marks. The rest of the unit follows, some crouched, others upright, all of them trying not to think about what's waiting on the other side. Going over the top wasn't just a tactic, it was a death sentence dressed up as strategy. The officer's posture says everything. He doesn't hesitate, doesn't look back, just climbs, walks forward, and hopes the math doesn't catch up to him this time. Most didn't come back. Many weren't found. But someone with a camera caught this split second where the line between life and death narrowed to a few steps and one breath. There's no glory here. Just men walking into hell because someone had to. All right, now, let's move to number 7. raising funds for the war effort. A row of children, hair slicked down, fingers gripping paper certificates with more pride than they'll ever show again. This isn't about honor rolls or good grades. It's about war savings. London, 1916, Gibbons Road School. Each child in that photo gave what they could to the War Saving Association, scraping together 15 shillings and sixpence to help fuel an empire choking on the cost of war. Behind their smiles, there's something off. They're kids, but war made them understand money before they understood innocence. Some may not have had proper meals that week, but they handed over their coins anyway, not out of patriotism, out of pressure, out of expectation. The classroom became a war front, the chalkboard a ledger. This image isn't heartwarming, it's haunting. Children shouldn't have to carry the economy of a crumbling nation on their backs. But they did. Not just with coins, but with silence. With growing up too fast. With being told they were lucky not to be at the front. Number 6. Air raid damage near St. Paul Sips Cathedral. The rooftop of the General Post Office looks more like a scrapyard than anything functional. Debris lies everywhere. Shattered beams, piles of ash-covered bricks, ripped sheet metal twisted like paper. In the distance, St. Paul's Cathedral rises through the smog, still standing but framed by destruction. This was London, July 7, 1917. The second daylight raid. A 15-kilogram bomb hit hard. Not just the structure but the illusion that daylight was safe. This wasn't some midnight blitz. It happened under the sun, with people awake, working, drinking tea, answering phones. And then it wasn't quiet anymore. The photo doesn't show blood or bodies, but you can feel the aftermath, the kind of silence that lingers too long, the kind that smells like dust and smoke and panic. People didn't run because there was nowhere to go, and when the fires were out, they just got back to work, cleaned up what they could. This wasn't the end of anything, it was just another day in the middle of hell. Number 5. Kapelle Krach. Adolf Hitler, World War I. A group of German soldiers huddled together, instruments in hand, some smiling, others lost in their own thoughts. It's supposed to be a band, Kapelle Krach. The photo isn't dated, but it lives somewhere between horror and healing. One of them stands off to the side, barely noticeable unless someone points him out. Corporal Adolf Hitler, the man who would later drag the world into even deeper darkness. Back then, he was just a soldier recovering from injury, standing with comrades on a break from the trenches. A face in a crowd. No power, no voice. Just another man with dirt on his boots and no idea what was coming. The picture isn't remarkable in itself. No drama, no fight, no tragedy, just a pause. But that's what makes it terrifying, because monsters don't always arrive screaming. Sometimes they blend in, play a tune, and laugh with the others. And when the music stops, you realize you weren't looking closely enough. Number 4. Raising the flag on Iwo Jima. The best photography leaves a mark on the world. It embeds itself into the culture and becomes a symbol for generations to come. That's what Joe Rosenthal unknowingly created when he snapped 6 Marines planting a flag on Mount Suribachi. No polished poses or war theatrics, just raw grit as they heave that pole into the wind. It's not clean, it's messy and human. That exact clumsiness is why it pierced the national conscience. This wasn't a victory march, it was survival distilled into one motion. They were tired, probably scared, maybe even unsure if the battle was truly over. Yet they lifted that flag like it might hold the entire Pacific together. Rosenthal didn't need to show blood or fire to scream war. He showed perseverance, the kind that lives in bruised hands and sore backs. Not just medals, it became a sculpture, a stamp, a story passed down. But before it was all that, it was just a photo of men trying to stand tall despite everything. Number 3, War in Afghanistan. It was a fraction of a second, just enough time for Sergeant William B. to flinch. You can almost hear the crack of the bullet in the frame, his face locked somewhere between instinct and disbelief. Taliban fighters had opened fire near Garmsur, Helmand province. The air behind him explodes into dust and shrapnel, the world reduced to that tiny patch of earth, and the silence that follows a near death. No dramatics, no big headline, just a man ducking death like he's done 100 times. The longer you stare, the more brutal it gets. This wasn't a staged moment. It wasn't made for legacy. It was a random Tuesday in a war that had already dragged on for too long. B survived that shot. A lot of his friends didn't. That photo doesn't show politics or strategy. It shows a man's face when he realizes his body has almost stopped existing. After 17 years of promises, nothing changed. But that stare, well, that's forever. Number 2. The Gulf War. Black skies. Thick columns rise from the ground like tombstones. Below them was the shattered crust of Kuwait. Overhead, American fighter jets cut through the smoke without a scratch, while the fires below swallowed everything that couldn't fly. This wasn't victory, it was residue. Iraqi forces, pushed back by the US and its allies, torched hundreds of oil wells as they retreated. This wasn't about territory or defense anymore. This was punishment, retaliation in flames. The Gulf War lasted months. But this image made it feel eternal, endless black clouds, warplanes cruising above, detached from the burning mess below. It's easy to read the photo as triumph, jets flying proud, mission accomplished, but look closer. The land is poisoned, the skies are ruined. The whole horizon looks like it forgot how to breathe. For every pilot in the sky, there were thousands on the ground who couldn't outrun the smoke. That war wasn't clean. It never is. But the photo makes you wonder if we even care anymore when it isn't. Number 1. The terror of war. The most powerful images of war focus not on the battlefield itself, but on the civilians affected by conflict. Nick Udy didn't go looking for history that day in 1972. He found it, barefoot and screaming, running straight toward him. A young girl, Phan Thi Kim Phuc, her clothes burned off, her skin scorched by napalm, becomes the unwilling face of a war she didn't choose. Around her, other children flee in panic, but it's her agony that sears into memory. This photo wasn't supposed to exist. It wasn't supposed to leave Vietnam, but it broke through. And it didn't just change how Americans viewed the war, it forced them to confront what collateral damage really looks like. The girl survived, though it took years of surgeries and even longer to heal the invisible scars. But Udy's frame froze the moment forever, the second a child's pain shattered political spin. That image didn't need a caption, it was already a scream too loud to ignore. If you've enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.